Queen Elizabeth I was one of the most powerful monarchs in history. She ruled England for 45 years, creating a golden age, but remained unmarried throughout her life, earning the title Virgin Queen. Yet she did experience love. Today, we'll tell the story of three men who meant more to her than her crown, but whom she could never have. These are Elizabeth I's forbidden loves. When Elizabeth was 10 years old, she met a boy who would capture her heart forever. Robert Dudley was the same age, and fate had destined him to become the love of the future queen's life. The two grew up together, studying and playing as childhood friends. However, in 1553, during the political chaos surrounding Mary's succession, the Dudley family fell from grace, and Robert's father was executed. In 1558, when Elizabeth became queen at 25, one of her first acts was to summon Robert Dudley to court. She appointed him master of the horse, placing him in charge of the royal stables. But there was a problem. Robert was already married to a woman named Amy Robsart. Despite this, Elizabeth and Robert's relationship deepened. They rode horses together daily, danced, and spent long hours in each other's company. Court gossips began to whisper, "The Queen is too close to a married man." In September 1560, a shocking event occurred. Robert's wife Amy was found dead at the bottom of a staircase with a broken neck. It was a mysterious death. People whispered that the Queen and Robert had murdered Amy, though no one knows the truth. This incident severely damaged Elizabeth's reputation. After Amy's death, Robert became free to marry. Now he could wed Elizabeth. But Elizabeth hesitated. Her courtiers strongly opposed the match. They argued that she could not marry a subject of lower rank. Foreign royalty criticized her, saying the English queen would be marrying a murderer. Eventually, Elizabeth made a heartbreaking decision. Between love and her crown, she chose the crown. She granted Robert an earldom and began to distance herself from him. But the love never ended. For 30 years, until Robert's death in 1588, Elizabeth kept him by her side. When he died, Elizabeth wrote his last letter on his final message to her, and treasured it for the rest of her life. In 1587, a new man appeared before 54-year-old Elizabeth. Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex, was just 20 years old. Despite the 34-year age difference, Elizabeth fell for this young man. Essex was not only handsome, but also talented in poetry and swordsmanship. Elizabeth showered Essex with favor. She granted him lands, titles, and the highest positions at court. People criticized her, saying the old queen is ruining the country over a young man. But Essex became increasingly arrogant. He took the queen's love for granted and began interfering excessively in politics. He even quarreled publicly with the Queen. In 1599, Essex failed in his Irish campaign and returned without permission. Elizabeth was furious and placed him under house arrest. In desperation, Essex made an extreme choice. On February 8, 1601, he staged a rebellion in London, claiming to rescue the Queen from evil advisors by seizing the court by force. The rebellion was crushed within a day. Essex was arrested and imprisoned in the Tower of London. Elizabeth agonized for days. She faced the situation of having to execute the man she loved. But she had duties as a queen. Traitors had to be punished. On February 25, 1601, Elizabeth signed the death warrant with trembling hands. Essex was beheaded at the Tower of London that dawn. After Essex's death, Elizabeth changed dramatically. She fell into deep depression and lost her former vitality. The guilt of killing someone she loved haunted her. In the 1570s, Elizabeth in her 40s received her last chance at marriage. Francis, Duke of Anjou, brother of French King Charles IX, proposed to her. The Duke of Anjou was 22 years younger than Elizabeth. But this was a politically important marriage that could create an alliance with France to counter Spain. The two courted through letters. The Duke sent sweet love letters, and Elizabeth replied seriously. They called each other mon très cher, my dearest, in their correspondence. In 1579, the Duke of Anjou visited England in person. The 46-year-old Elizabeth met the 24-year-old Duke face to face. Surprisingly, they were attracted to each other. Elizabeth called him "my frog" as a pet name and seriously considered marriage. But reality was harsh. A first pregnancy at 46 was extremely dangerous. With the medical knowledge of the time, it would be risking her life. Moreover, the English people opposed it. France was Catholic while England was Protestant, raising concerns about religious conflict. Court advisors also objected, asking what's the point of marrying a foreign prince at this age? In 1582, Elizabeth finally made her decision. She sent a letter of refusal to the Duke of Anjou, famously declaring, "I am already married to England." The Duke was disappointed, but accepted her decision. They agreed to remain good friends. The Duke died young of illness in 1584. Elizabeth I experienced three great loves. She shared pure first love with Robert Dudley, dangerous passion with the Earl of Essex, and mature love with the Duke of Anjou. But none of these loves could be fulfilled. Her status as queen, political realities, and fate blocked her path to love. Elizabeth died in 1603 at age 70. She never married and left no heir. But what she left behind was England's golden age. It's the story of a great queen who sacrificed personal happiness for her country. Behind that sacrifice were three men she loved but could never have. A queen who chose power over love. That was the real story of Elizabeth I. Thank you so much for joining me on this heartbreaking love story of one of history's greatest queens. I hope Elizabeth's tale, caught between power and love, duty and happiness, has touched your hearts as deeply as it has mine. It's because of your interest and support that I can continue sharing these meaningful historical stories with you. I promise to keep digging up these hidden gems from history and bringing them to you with all my heart. Let's continue exploring the depths of history together. See you in the next story.